So we're going to continue our coverage over Knights of X, where we pick up with Knights of X issue number 4 and issues number 5. Matter of fact, this is us wrapping up our coverage over Knights of X. Either way, when it comes to Knights of X, it is a sequel to Excalibur, Tini Howard's run on Excalibur, and this is her wrapping everything up that she could not wrap up when she was working on Excalibur. With that being said though, when it comes to Knights of X, it's all about the idea that Merilyn, the main bad guy of the book, has taken over Otherworld, and he's trying to get rid of all the witch breeds in Otherworld. And witch breed is just another term to call mutants. Either way, the mutants cannot escape Otherworld because the gate to Krakoa was closed. And so you have the Knights of X on a quest to find a very powerful item known as the Siege of Perilous. And when it comes to the Siege of Perilous, it has the ability to give someone a fresh start. And so when it comes to the Knights of X, they want to use that as a way to defeat Merilyn. The problem is though, they have to go to the Lost Kingdom, the one that has been locked away, that's right now being controlled by a guy known as Mr. M. But at the end of our last video, one of the members of the Knights of X died, and that was Gambit. And so this is where we pick up at now. What do our heroes do after losing one of their own? And so getting into today's comic book video, where we pick out our heroes freaking out because they had to deal with the idea of the death of Gambit. Now, you would probably think, hey, Fresh, don't worry, because they have the 5. Yeah, you're right. The 5 are 5 mutants that have the ability to bring someone back to life if they die by making them a clone body and then download their memories into that clone body. The problem is, though, if you die in Otherworld, you come back corrupted, which means that honestly, they cannot bring you back to life. And when it comes to Gambit, well, he cannot come back to life because he died in Otherworld. And so right now, our heroes are freaking out and trying to figure out what in the world can they do. Now, luckily for the death of Gambit, they now have a way into the Lost Kingdom of Cater. And what I mean by that is they needed a sacrifice to open up the portal that could lead them into the Lost Kingdom of Cater. Now, originally, it was supposed to be Richter. He said, I will kill myself. I will be the sacrifice to give us the chance to actually go into the Lost Kingdom. But with the death of Gambit, now they don't have to. They have a way into Cater. And you have Jim Jasper say, hey, I'm free now. And with me being free, my powers can protect me and my people. But I will open up a portal that will help you go into the Lost Kingdom. But you have to get there and hopefully end this long war against Merilyn. And so you have all our heroes leave, but they also take the body of Gambit as well. And that is going to be very important for the end of today's comic book video. Now, once our heroes do arrive in the Lost Kingdom of Cater, we learn what actually happened here in the Lost Kingdom of Cater, but we also come to find out King Arthur followed the Knights of X into the Lost Kingdom, except when we do pick up with King Arthur, well, he's stuck in mud, but his fellow soldiers or his fellow warriors or knights, whatever, they're all dead. But he is confronted by Mr. M, the one in charge of the Lost Kingdom of Cater. Now, when it comes to Mr. M, y'all, let me tell y'all, he is an Omega level mutant. But here is the thing, because you have Mr. M tell King Arthur, you are now in the Lost Kingdom of Cater. Now, when he looks around, he realized this kingdom looks a tad bit dark. And so you have Mr. M tell King Arthur what he did was, once he had the ability to take over this kingdom, he combined the kingdom and also the Siege of Perilous into one. And so technically right now, when it comes to the kingdom of Mercator, it's actually the Siege of Perilous. But as soon as you arrive inside the kingdom, you have to go through the worst parts of you. And so when it comes to King Arthur, he has to face the dark stuff about him. Matter of fact, all our heroes have to go through the same thing. And so you have Mr. M saying, sorry, that's how it goes. As soon as you arrive, you have to go through all the worst things about you if you think you have the ability to control the Siege of Perilous. We do jump over to Lady Roma, Saturnine, and Shogo. Now remember, Saturnine used to be the person in charge of Otherworld. Unfortunately, Merilyn took over, and so it's her right now trying to get her spot back as the one in charge of Otherworld. And when it comes to Roma, Roma is the daughter of Merilyn, but she's helping Saturnine get back her role. And when it comes to Shogo, he is the adoptive son of Jubilee. Now, when you see Shogo, he is a dragon. And the reason why he is a dragon is because every single time he comes into Otherworld, he turns into a dragon because he has a wild imagination. Either way, when it comes to Roma and Saturnine, Betsy Braddock asked the two ladies to watch over Shogo. And the reason why, because even though Shogo was chosen to be a Knight of X, Betsy did not want anything to happen to Shogo at all because he is just a baby. Yes, he's a dragon, but in reality, he is just a baby. Either way, when it comes to Roma and Saturnine, they really do have bigger plans for Shogo. Unfortunately, we have no idea what those plans are yet, but we do realize with our heroes being able to find a way into the lost kingdom of Mercator, so do Roma and Saturnine now. They're going to use a different way to get into the lost kingdom of Mercator because now it's been found in Otherworld. That gives our two ladies here access to the kingdom as well. But as soon as they leave, well, we kind of find out Merilyn had planned to get rid of his daughter's kingdom because she does have her own kingdom in Otherworld, but he realized that she was helping out Saturnine and the mutants to survive. And so this is him saying, I want my daughter and Saturnine now. Follow them into the lost kingdom of Mercator and we are going to get rid of them. But we jump back over to Rachel Summers. And when we do, it's Rachel Summers saying that she has the ability to help break the others out of their own personal nightmares that the Siege of Perilous is putting them through. And so with her being able to do that, she's able to just fly to them and say, hey, what you are seeing right now is not real. Realize that what you're seeing is what the Siege of Perilous wants you to see. It's giving you a test. It's trying to make you overcome the worst parts of yourself. Either way, when she does fly in, she's able to break every single one of them out of it. And then the last person she saves is Betsy Braddock. And this became a very huge moment where she had kissed Betsy Braddock. And when I tell y'all, you had a lot of X-Men fans angry, and you had a lot of X-Men fans happy. Now, when I did go online to see, hey, what was the overall reaction, or hey, why were people really upset about this? I saw one thing over and over again, and really what I saw that folks were mad about the most was Tini Howard did not really show any hints that these two characters were going to get together. Even though if you read her entire run on Excalibur, you could clearly see that she was trying her best to get Betsy Braddock and Rachel Summers together. Either way, you have Rachel save Betsy, and she said, hey, I told you, I will never leave you alone again. And it was a moment where you had Rachel confess her love to Betsy Braddock. And they kiss, and it's great, cool, hoorah. But then they're confronted by Mr. M, the one in charge of this lost kingdom of Mercator. And once they're confronted by Mr. M, you do have our heroes tell him, hey, listen, we need the Siege of Perilous. But he says that has to wait because one of your team members is right now being chased by Merilyn. Now, for our heroes, they believe that Gambit must have came through with them, but he was alive, not dead. And you have Mr. M say, no, he's dead. But your other team member is here now and being chased by Merilyn. And he points to the sky to show us Shogo, the dragon, being chased after, well, Merilyn and his last few pieces of his forces. And so when we jump into the 5th chapter and really the final chapter of this storyline, we pick up with our heroes freaking out because they're wondering how in the world can they save the life of Shogo, because right now he's being chased by Merilyn, and the last time Merilyn showed up, well, Gambit died, and our heroes are wondering what can they do to save the baby dragon. Now, you have Mr. M say, unfortunately, for him to put the Siege of Perilous back together again, all 10 Knights of X have to be here together. But the problem was, though, they had to do a sacrifice to just get here over to the kingdom of Mercator. Now remember, Gambit died. He was technically the sacrifice. And that is very important because without him around, they don't have all 10 Knights of X. And so unfortunately, Mr. M cannot continue on to put the Siege of Perilous back together. He has to follow the rules of magic. And that is a very crucial thing to understand. But you did have our heroes realize Gambit used the death card. And when it comes to the death card, it doesn't mean you're going to die. It just changes you. Which means that when Gambit came into the kingdom of Mercator, he didn't die. He just changed. And so technically, he's right now just hanging on by the string of life to stay alive long enough to hopefully come back alive again. And so when they look over the mountain, they see a castle. And when it comes to that castle, it's made out of cards. And that right there tells them Gambit did not die. He just changed. And with him being changed, he was changed into a castle. We have to work his mind through the idea of coming back together as his original self. And once we're able to do that, bam, we get the Siege of Perilous, and bam, we'll be able to stop Merilyn once and for all. And so you have our heroes walk over to the castle of Gambit. Now, when they do walk over to the castle of Gambit, they realize that it's Gambit trying his best to figure out what happened to him, trying to bring himself back together. And that is the problem right there. Because when our heroes go into one specific room, they see a bunch of statues. And when it comes to these statues, they're all different versions of Gambit. And what Bessie Braddock says is that when it comes to Gambit, he must have entered a room where different timelines are able to flow through that one specific kind of room. And so because of that, it's Gambit kind of remembering what he saw in that room. Different timelines are different versions of himself. And so he's trying his best to remember which one is he, the actual main Marvel Universe version of himself. And that is very, very important. And you have our heroes try their best to help him out. But at first, he tries to fight back. He's kind of tapping into the wrong version of himself. And so it's up to our heroes to bring him back over to the good side. But at the end of this section, it does work out for our heroes, because then you have Rogue appear. And when Rogue appears, she said, you did it. Because you were able to overcome what the Siege of Perilous wanted you to do, or fight against the darker version of yourself. You were able to bring the Siege of Perilous back together as one. And with you doing that, it turned into a doorway. And with Gambit being able to turn the Siege of Perilous into a doorway, well, now they have a way to Krakoa and back over to Otherworld, which also means they're able to get their reinforcements to defeat the forces of Merilyn. Merilyn finally loses just like that. Now, unfortunately for me, I would love to see the final battle between the X-Men and the forces of Merilyn, but unfortunately, we do not get much of that scene. But on this bright side, Gambit is alive again. He is not dead, and with him being alive again, that means there is no way for him to come back corrupted like other folks did when they had died in Otherworld. Now, the book really ends on one crazy note, and what I mean by that is you do have Betsy Braddock meet up with the three people who have been causing her a lot of problems throughout Excalibur, but also this series as well. Because when we pick up with Betsy Braddock hours later, she meets up with Saturnine, Roma, and also Merilyn. And she says, I realize that each of you guys try to use me in your own kind of way for your own personal gain. And unfortunately, I don't like that. I'm not somebody that you can use for your own personal gain. But on top of that, I'm not somebody that you can just control. And so she says, from here on out, when it comes to the Captain Britain Corps, we will not work for Roma nor Saturnine or even Merilyn. Our main goal is to protect the multiverse, not protect one person who says she does care for the multiverse. And so she does kill off Merilyn, but she also says the Captain Britain Corps is going on its own path without your help, Saturnine. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So guys, see y'all next time. Later.